And this was all hard as a rock, and you pour water onto it, and what happens is this.
Nice.
Mud. Mud, 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 and it feels so good. There is a certain quality to clay, a certain sensuality to clay that I've not found except in one place. Made clay. This is a little harder. You know, like there was, it's like on your palm, the sensitivity right here, for me, right there.
Okay.
You know, every human being has certain erogenous zones. E-zone, baby.
Right there.
E-zone. Okay. One other thing I will not mention that pleases my palm, but since I'm 63 and my opportunities for that kind of palm pleasing have somewhat diminished, clay works just as well.
Clay G-spot.
Clay G-spot. Just get there right there and squish that clay around. And I do what is called pugging. And basically what you're doing is just smushing the clay in and out and back and forth for two reasons: to blend the different bodies together so you have a consistent body to work with.
Okay.
But also there's iron particles and little magnetic particles that mix with your own magnetism, and they all start going the same direction, and what you want is those little magnetized particles all to be pointing north. And the best way to get them to be pointing north is to do just what I'm doing. Squishing it in my hands, and other than the fact that I just love that feel. I love feeling clay in my hands. And what it does is get a nice body. It has a nice feel to it. This needs a lot of work. It had to be rehydrated, but I have some here.
And that takes several days, or?
Sometimes the whole year.
Really?
The Japanese used to, and I do too, you leave it out, you let it get hot, you let it get cold, you let it freeze. Every temperature change does something to the clay body, and this clay is pretty much finished. And it's ready to go. You can shape it. You can roll it. And it's much silkier compared to this. This is still pretty rough. And it's also very, very wet, so when you squeeze it, it doesn't hold its shape and it sticks. One of the ways you can tell when clay is ready is that it doesn't stick to your hands. And clay has its own time, like so many other things. Sometimes I'll come out here and it won't be ready for days and days, and then I walk out and it's ready. And that it has to be worked. It has to be worked that minute. It's not much different than bread, really.
How long have you been doing clay work?
Ever since I was a little kid, really. I found I was blessed in the fact that I had one or two very good teachers. When the school system actually taught art as a child, when Eisenhower was king and all was right with the world, and we got to play in clay, but it really wasn't until I got up to WNMU and Claude Smith, who is a master potter and an excellent teacher, and did 14 semesters with him, not only as a student but also as his assistant. And he's a good teacher. He taught me a lot, and I just love it because I'm so into the dimension of cyberspace with my cyber art as well as my paintings. It's a nice switch over to be so totally organic, because this way I can get out, rest that part, one part of my brain, and get into another, and also have the opportunity when summer is here like it is now to do organic things, to be out in the air and the sun and the earth and deal with the best parts of the elements, which is earth, air, fire, and water. What else is there? Earth, air, fire, and water.
That's
I don't know. Earth, air, fire, and water, and us.
And us.
Right in the middle. Yeah, right in the middle. But now this little piece right here, I did that in 2000, and it's been outside ever since. And it got hit by a shovel at one point, and part of the face got knocked off. But all of these pieces are all about 7 or 8 years old, and they've all been outside in the elements, because I use what's called terracotta firing, which is an old Roman thing, Roman terracotta firing, which is basically a long bisque firing. I don't use any glazes, I use the red. And that's why it just broke my heart that this little baby got smashed, is the fact that she was outside just long enough to pick up some of the natural colors.
Mm-hmm.
And when these are taken, when they're outside, when they're allowed to be exposed to the elements, they develop this exquisite patina that can only be done, can only be had by being outside, being in the elements. And this one has different colors of gray. That little feather one, which was part of an angel that got broken, I have smashed pieces everywhere. They're still beautiful as far as I'm concerned. All the different colors, it's all the same clay body, but it was what it was exposed to, what elements it was exposed to that have given it that the different subtlety, the different shades. And that's why I don't bother with glazes. Why fuck around with glaze when you've got Mother Nature doing its thing too?
The greatest glaze of all.
Yeah, the greatest glaze of all. So anyway, that's my little tirade. I've been trying to keep up on Facebook, and God bless you, Doug, for having this incredible piece of equipment.
My pleasure.
So I can rant and rave and share with everyone the fact that yes, I'm out here. So this is just like total New Orleans wrecked havoc. These are all the pieces I've done. Let's see, what the hell is it? What day is it? Oh, a couple of months. A month, maybe 2 months at the most. They're all greenware, and this is all stuff that's going to get fired.
Wow.
And see back underneath it, isn't that pretty?
Yeah.
So these are things that can be in the garden, they can be on your desk, you can sit them up, you can lay them down, you can flip them over. These, you can see the different color variations. That's because I use this stuff called On-Go, which is basically a different colored clay you slap on the wet. It works. This one is a real challenge because what happened was it was still wet when I finished it, and we had this huge dust storm, and all this sand and grit blew onto it.
Oh, yeah.
And I was so dismayed. I tried to brush it off, and it wouldn't brush. It went into the clay instead. And I thought, fuck it, this is an organic form, and this is certainly an expression of an organic form.
Absolutely.
The fact that all that sand and dirt just got worked itself into its little body. But I also have a few figurative pieces. This is one of my goddesses that I love. I'm going to bring her out so you can see her in the sunlight.
Okay.
Because I think she's very sexy and very pretty. But thanks to Facebook, see, I started doing all this shit before I got onto Facebook. Now that I have a venue for all that art, I find that I do not need to do figurative, i.e. human pieces with my clay, because I'm satisfied with their images in other places. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop it completely, because I think she's just gorgeous.
Wow. Let me get the face. Oh, yeah, that's amazing. Wow.
One of my little garden goddesses. So hopefully this weekend, God willing and the creek don't rise, all of these are going to be consigned to the fire. As a quote from Jack Ellis, a great teacher and an old friend, Macaroni Zen, the only thing you need in life is butter, ketchup, and self-respect.
Amen.
Amen.